Over the last few months, I've had several of you send me links from other channels, some of them well known, some of them not. Some of them are just starter channels. And I've noticed that there's this trend, which is, I believe, very inaccurate. There's a little bit of truth to it, but it's really going off the rails. And I felt it was time to set the record straight. Now, this is in regard to videos lately that have been coming out from, again, a variety of channels, essentially pushing the idea that the good times are gone in the Philippines, that the Filipinas are all westernized and there's no more good times. You come here and they're just going to scam you. And the best way I can counter that is by looking at the big picture. And to do that, let's go back to 2012. Now, 2012 is when I first moved to the Philippines. And I came here back then without the advantage of having any vloggers to kind of pave the way and learn from. I basically had to jump into the deep end of the pool. There wasn't much I knew about the Philippines in 2012 other than what I saw on Google Images. There were no websites, no videos, no YouTube that had any useful information. But that was okay. So I flew to the Philippines, landed at Mactan in July of 2012, and I got acclimated, got into my apartment, started walking around to see what I could see and get a feel for the whole new situation I now found myself in. Now, in the process of meeting Filipinas, Filipinos, talking to vendors, people that worked at the mall, I also had the fortunate occurrence of running into some of what I call the true pioneers, the old timers. There was one that I ran into. He was about 84. I forget if he told me he was 84 or 86 years old. And he kind of looked like a cross between Santa Claus and Popeye, full of energy. And he had already been traveling in Thailand and Indonesia, Cambodia, but he really loved the Philippines the most. He was telling me about the two girlfriends, Filipinas, that he had, and these were not bar girls. He was trying to have an actual relationship with the both of them in two different islands, actually seeing if maybe he could settle down, but I don't think it was in his blood. And so talking to him and a few others who came to the Philippines back in the 70s and 80s when they were in their 50s and 60s. Now, to put that in perspective, I'm currently 61 years old. Back in 1980, I was in my junior year of high school. And these guys in their 50s were coming to the Philippines. There was no internet. A lot of these guys were coming here with traveler's checks. I mean, they were the pioneers. They were coming out here without the advantages of any internet. And what I gathered from their stories was nothing that resembled the grumblings that I hear today. The only guys that had horror stories about Filipinas were the guys that were picking them up in Angeles and Subic and the usual red light district areas. Those were the guys that had the hard luck stories. But the other guys, everybody I ran into from that era, had absolutely no problem finding a good Filipina woman. And again, there was no internet. There was no dating sites. You met Filipinas by walking around. You saw a Filipina that interests you and you start a conversation with her. You get her phone number so that you can text her and then set up a date. That's how it was done. That's how it's been done for thousands of years before the internet. So then skip forward to just a year later in 2013, I moved to Bohol, and that was when I really started putting some effort into my channel. And one of the first videos I did was discussing the entrance of the smartphone to the Philippines. Now, I came to the Philippines with a BlackBerry. Some of you may remember the BlackBerry. And in 2013 was when I got my first smartphone. And by today's standards, it was a piece of crap. But even back then, as I went walking about, the only Filipinas that I saw holding a smartphone were either married to or dating an expat. Social media was still in its infancy compared to what it is now, and dating sites were just really getting the ball rolling. But they were happening, and Filipinas were starting to get on them, but it hadn't become the cottage industry that it is now, fleecing lonely guys out of their money, thinking they're putting Filipinas on some kind of layaway plan until they can get here. That's how it is now. But back then, in 2013, you could still go on a dating site and stand a pretty good chance of meeting a decent woman. I would say at least a 60-70% chance of meeting a good woman online back in 2013. But as I said in the video back then, friends make good men better and bad men worse. What the internet was going to do is group together online women who never otherwise would have known each other, who are in the whole red light district mentality. They were going to start networking and spreading ideas of how to basically take advantage of an expat. And that's exactly what has been happening from 2013 until currently today. So my experience in the Philippines, again, beginning in 2012, up until I would say 2017, I did not rely on websites or dating sites or apps to meet Filipinas. What I did is what I have been saying for years is simply, as I just mentioned a bit ago, I'd be going about my daily business. I might be walking out to get a haircut. I might be getting my groceries or just walking around town to get the lay of the land. And I bump into a Filipina. I see one that I think looks interesting. She's pretty. She seems like she has a good personality. I wasn't going to go online and see if I could find her on Facebook. I'd just walk up to her and start conversation. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, the last thing you want to do is approach them with some kind of pre-memorized lines. Human nature can sniff that out in a second. What you want to do is just walk up to them. Forget about the fact that your goal is to ask them out on a date. Just enjoy some conversation. Talk about whatever. It doesn't even matter. Just be friendly. Your whole goal is just to show them, hey, I'm a normal guy. I find you interesting. I want to talk to you. And when it gets to be 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes, be respectful of their time and say, hey, I don't want to keep you, but can I get your text number? We can chat more later tonight if that's okay with you. 99% success rate. I always got their number, always chatted them, always went out with them. That is the way I went about dating, again, 2012 forward, and all the more so because I could see what was starting to change with online dating. The number of good, decent women on a dating site was dropping like a rock, and the number of women who networked and figured out and told their cousin or their classmate, hey, here's how you get some money. You don't even have to date these guys. Just introduce yourself, show some interest, make a bunch of plans that you're never going to do. It'll take these guys 6 months, a year to ever get out here. Some of them will never get here. But in the meanwhile, they're going to be sending you money, and you can duplicate this with 2, 3, 4, 5 different guys. You can have 5 income streams from 5 guys who want to come to the Philippines, and who knows, maybe they even manage to get some time off of work and save a little money and come in for 2 weeks. These girls are telling each other, oh, well, then he takes you out to some nice resorts, you get to see some nice places, he goes back home, and he keeps that money coming. That is what dating sites were destined to turn into, and that's what they are now. So, getting back to these videos saying, well, the Philippines, the Filipinas, they're too westernized, they're too materialistic, they're a bunch of scammers, yada, yada, yada. There's a reason why guys keep running into those kind of women. It's because before they even come to the Philippines, Where are they talking to women? They're talking to them on the dating sites. Before they've even bought their ticket, they're halfway emotionally invested in some Filipina who is basically scamming them, who is going to ghost them when they show up, or is going to spend a week with them, again, for the short time vacation, solidify the con, and then he's going to go home thinking, oh, gee, I've got something going. I'm going to send her some money to make sure she stays my girl so that she doesn't date anybody else. That is the problem. And the solution is men need to get back to basics. Men need to forget about the dating sites. Do not chat women in the Philippines prior to your arrival. Do not chat women on the dating sites when you get here. Now, I understand approaching women in the West, even I would not do that. There's too much legal liability, too much toxicity. I wouldn't waste my time approaching women in the United States. And most guys wouldn't do that in Australia, Canada, or Europe. But you have to understand the best women who are good and kind-hearted, who are looking for a real relationship, the vast majority of them are not on a dating site. And the best way you can find them is forget about these apps, forget about these dating sites, get your hotel, stay for whatever it is, your 3 weeks, your year, 6 months, but get out there, go for a walk. Keep your eyes open when you go grocery shopping. And when you see a Filipina that you find attractive, that you may want to start going on a date with, and who knows, maybe get into a relationship with, walk up to her and say hi. And let it flow naturally. You don't need a bunch of lines like, hello, you're so beautiful, can I talk to you? Don't be a dumbass. Just walk up, say hi, she's going to say hi, and she's going to wait for you to kind of explain why you're approaching her. Don't make the conversation about her. Don't put her on the spot. Don't go putting her on an interview when you don't even know her. You're asking her to give you something when you do that, and you're a stranger. Don't interrogate her. Instead, just look for some commonality or ask a question. You know those beautiful women that work in the department stores? You walk up to one and you say, excuse me, I'm looking for whatever. I'm looking for some men's cologne. I'm looking for a belt for my pants. I'm looking for the shoe department. Can you help me? Can you show me where that is? I'm new to the Philippines. Could you help me out with that? Now, number one, it's their job. Yes, they're going to take you to that department. And that is where you can just start asking them questions, not about their personal life, but just life in general. Just ask them, so how late is the mall open? How long have you been working here? Do you know of any good places to eat? I like American food, but I'm kind of open to Filipino food. Is there any places that you could recommend? I mean, just start flowing that conversation and then shut up. Let her talk. Let her talk until she's done talking. Listen to her and engage. Respond to the things that she's saying. This is how you organically meet good women. Women who are out there, they're not on a dating site talking to 20 different guys. They're out there working. They're doing a job. It could be a girl working at the vegetable stand, and she's got all day and probably not a whole lot of customers. Practicing her English with a foreigner for 5 or 10 minutes is something she's totally open to. She could be working at a phone kiosk. She could be making hot dogs in the mall. You can meet good, decent women all over the place. The opportunities are endless. And I have been saying this for 12 years. And the only reason that guys are still complaining on a variety of videos and whatnot, well, I can't find me a good woman. I've been on so many dates for the last 2 years and I can't find a good Filipina. It's always falling apart. The vast majority of these guys are finding women online, meeting them in person, and they're meeting them on the wrong turf. You don't want to meet women that are already talking to 10 other guys. You want to meet a woman in her everyday life. When she woke up that morning, the only thing on her mind was, I got to get dressed, get on the jeepney, and get to work. Not like the ones on the dating sites who rolled out of bed at whatever time and said, well, I'm going to go online and see if I can get 20 different guys talking to me. Forget about the dating sites. Get back to basics. Meet women in person when you're in the Philippines. This is where you're going to find the good women. I'm telling you, I've done it for years, and there is no substitute for approaching women in person in the Philippines. They are friendly, they are open to talking to expats. Doesn't matter if she's your age or maybe 10 years younger or even a bigger age gap. There is a general dynamic in place with the culture that is completely different from the West. The West is very confrontational. In the Philippines, courtesy and friendliness is still valued in the open culture. It's okay to walk up to a woman and start a conversation. You will be amazed. So my recommendation to you guys is stop listening to these idiots who complain that the last 20 women they met on a dating site turned into a disaster or went nowhere. You've got to face your fears, get over your approach anxiety, stick yourself out there. Maybe you flub it up once or twice, but you're going to learn, just like learning how to swim. It's like anything else. You do it enough, you get better at it. And pretty soon, the only problem you're going to have is that every time you're in public and you see a beautiful woman, you will have the confidence to know, if I want to go out with her, I've got about a 98% chance that I can. All I got to do is walk up, talk to her, be a decent guy. I can probably go out with her. The only problem you're going to have is narrowing it down and committing that once you do start dating a good, decent woman, stick to her. Because if you do start approaching and dating 3 women at a time, if they are good, decent women, the second they find out you're dating other women, and they always find out, you're going to lose that good woman. Because no good woman is going to stay in a relationship with a guy that's a cheater. So before you go pulling the trigger and getting to that 3rd, 4th date, choose wisely. When you see a woman, ask yourself, if this goes good, which it likely will, is this someone I'd be willing to have an exclusive relationship with? Love to hear your thoughts. See you there in the comments.